Hi, good morning. I'm having a little bit tough time getting going this morning. I'm on my fourth take of the same. Take four. Anyway, I was talking about uh, just my experience with Chinese New Year's and the frenzy. The It's like a feeding time. It's so much expectations and so much cultural baggage come with this holiday. That there's a frenzy. That people have so many responsibilities, some places to go. They feel so much pressure, and quite frankly, from the outside looking, it seems to be I don't get I don't see the reward for all these expectations. It's just like being on automatic, and I understand that this deep, long culture is not easily changed, and people have to respond to their responsibilities and expectations, quashed expectations of Chinese New Year. So the leading up to it is a frenzy, and during the time of the actual holiday, there's the camaraderie of the meal, but then there's other expectations you got to get and go do. And one time you make a walk to the cherry blossom, and it's very predictable. So it makes it easy to not be where they want to be. So I don't drive because traffic is insane. I live in a resort, basically a resort, kind of mixed. People, it's one of the East Coast. It's one of the few places that people have to escape the congestion and the overpopulation of the West Coast and the industrialization, and come get some blue skies and some ocean and some scenic. And I understand, but it makes my community first of all, a lot of people are driving their cars that don't know the area, so traffic is, and combine that with the local people being in a hurry to go here and here and here to do this, go. Anyway, people are busy being human doings. Very little being seems to be going on. But be that as it may, I go for bike rides if I need to get out and about. And I have it down. I know where the roads least traveled are. So that's my relief. But what's prompting this is some criticism that I've been subject to by someone close to me. And in his observation, he seems I got a burr under his saddle. Something's bothering him about me. And the way he expresses it is just kind of barbed criticisms, sharp, which, from my point of view, serve absolutely no purpose. So that's what I want to look about my point of view. Why am I so thin-skinned? Why am I so quick to respond? And it's usually from anger, or denial, or justification. None of those are necessary. I think if I could just master a simple nod the head, and non-committal, and maybe take it upon, look at it more deeply at my leisure, or during my meditations, or during my private time. And this is the optimum reaction. First, find out if there's some truth in it, and then evaluate the input. Evaluate it. Is it something that is worthy that I need to work on? So I should thank him as a reminder, or just maybe better to not respond, but a smile, yeah. But I'm more concerned not about, I've already dealt with information, that the input that would be so unsettling, that I'd be so quick to respond to react so much against all that I hold near and dear, so much against my practice. And as always with social media, I don't have to click too many times to when I'm going to come up with some source of information. I get all my contact from the outside world basically through the internet. The local paper here I read online, the local English paper. I get my news bits from CNN and MSNBC on YouTube. And that's it. That's my input. And I can get enough bits and pieces just to get enough. But something always is when something I'm going through a problematic or troublesome time, something always pops up. And this comes from a lady that does this Being Buddha project. And her article ties into two things that I was talking about, two things that I wanted to address today. This is a kind of an aside because I'm always begin by the things that are on my plate right now that I think might be helpful and others might identify with and have to deal with, and maybe I can share my attempts at incorporating it, dealing with it, properly responding, qualifying my reaction to such. So this was criticism. And what caught my eye is the title, Being Zen is Hard. Because one of the criticisms I get from these people that are close to mine, they just seem to, it's very limited. It's just, they seem to come back to the same topic again and again and again. And revisit it, like beating a dead horse. It must be really critical for it to come up almost every time that we're together. So one of the if I respond to it or react to it out of anger, whatever this topic is, it does result in me getting angry or me getting too quick to speak. The words come out too quickly. And then the response is always, well, that's not very Zen of you. Or one of the nicknames that I use was Zenden. It's my email address at Zenden. Says, that's not very Zenden of you. As if this person had any idea what Zen was or is. But enough bites, mindfulness, awakened, there's enough sound bites out there that people think they have some kind of understanding. It's just like those who say, oh, Zen is all about suffering. Well, Zen is about what is, and that's it. So anyway, she wrote this, Being Zen is hard. It's not about confining feelings to pent-up emotions, nor is it about swallowing our pride or showing apathy. Once we know that the perception of others does not define what we are, as long as our intentions are pure, it is only words. It only works towards our spiritual upliftment. I need to maybe get new glasses. I'm trying to read. There's no need for justification. There's no need for explanation. It's up to us to control what our sensory organs feed our mind and how our mind reacts. By not letting our mind and heart sway, we are progressing in our spiritual journey. Know this. Thank you, Being Buddha Project. How appropriate. So there's my work. That's what I've been doing recently. And what I could find out about this woman is that, I enjoy her blogs. But it's been a long time since I heard from her, since she's posted something. And she told me, she shared that she'd gone through a pregnancy. She had a child that's now 7 months old. And she dealt with all the things about bringing new life into the world, pregnancy, giving birth. and then nurturing that birth. And it ties in exactly where I was headed today before I got that little sidebar of dealing with my reaction to criticism. And of course, the soft button is criticizing. I think it's not playing fair to criticize, saying that's not very Zen of you, or way to go, Zen den. Like, anyway, see, a little more. There's still something to work on there, isn't there? But I realized I had another person. He happened to be an astrologer, but he's also an academic. So academia is my forte. But when an academia person studies deeply astrology, which I've done in the past, and see some relevance, it's not without its relevance. I see quite a lot there, and I spent a lot of time studying it. I think it was part of my transition from non-abiding, impermanent awakening to abiding, permanent awakening. And astrology, interest in astrology goes way back to the very, very beginnings as an 11 or 12-year-old. And always being interested in delving deeper than the surface. So anyway, here's this source of information came from a woman who had just reaching out after this period of time that she had gone through about conceiving, carrying, giving forth, bringing life to the world, and then nurturing that life for 7 months until she was ready to speak out again. And this just, the timing was perfect because today's talk is called Midwifing Transition. And everything it's been about, I was telling you basically about the astrologer that was the academic astrologer that was talking about perinatal crisis. Perinatal is a period of time during pregnancy. The period of time. And or just reading a woman that had gone, and then postpartum is the depression or whatever, dealing with the changes of having the responsibility, the physical changes, the emotional changes, the mental changes of having produced this new form of life and then having to nurture it. And it's quite common. And of course, it's out of my purview. I surrender in my admiration and my respect for those of us that can go through this. But he was talking about perinatal crisis in a different way, perinatal psyche, and he talked about midwifing, that in this process, in doing deep inner journeys, you really need to have guides. You need to have people who know the terrain, the territory, to be able to midwife this transformational process. This guy's name is, I'll leave it unknown at this time. Oh, there it is. Richard Tarmas. Thank you, Richard. Perinatal crisis, perinatal energy, which involves the reliving of birth and the confrontation with death. And talking about, it's good that you need some guide. And I don't know how much help that women get. Women that go to traditional Western medicine probably don't get much help, much counseling from a usually male gynecologist that has no experience, that doesn't know what's going on internally. I mean, he knows from a observer point of view, but not as a participant. It's much as the transition. This is why it's so important to see more and more women as obstetricians and more and more women involved in this process, because either they can be more simpatico, having shared, or maybe having a deeper understanding of this tremendous physical, mental, emotional transition that getting pregnant, being pregnant, and then giving birth represent. But maybe in the old tradition, maybe the midwife who certainly has seen the birth of many children, just as a doctor has, but most likely has been there herself. Anyway, when I went to the dictionary and looked up midwife, of course, there's the traditional a person, usually a woman, who is trained to assist women in childbirth. Okay, well, that's the understanding of midwifery. But here's the one that I found, the second one who assists in or takes part in bringing about a result. Okay, and this can be the spiritual transition from non-abiding to abiding, from impermanent to permanent, non-permanent to permanent awakening. And just as Mr. Tarnas's argument is that just as this perinatal experience for women, the time of their pregnancy up until birth, the birth of awakening, the death of the ego, and the trauma, that unexpected trauma, at least in my case, that comes with this awakening state, this awakened state, this remembering the forgotten. It brings, at least for me, really tough times. And I was totally unprepared. And one of my goals had been to share this with other people so that when their time comes, and it will come, for each and every one of us to see the unity, to see the wholeness, to give up, to surrender the ego, which entails a death. The ego does not go easily. It goes kicking and screaming. The ego does not die well, does not surrender in grace. And its absence creates this huge vacuum that this baby Buddha, this birth, this rebirth, which entailed a death and a birth, this transition is unprecedented. I told you many times that I was so vulnerable. I was a naked little infant laying on the cold, hard sidewalk in a gray, oppressive environment. Dirty sidewalk, gray, some gray skies. And there you are. So one of the things, this midwifery, this wanting to be a guide to help the people know who the terrain, the territory, to be able to midwife this transformational process. I couldn't have verbalized this, and somebody did it for me. And thank you. But this is what I see. This is why I'm so open and share things that are better left unsaid. It's better for me not to talk about it, because it opens it up to criticism, and it opens it up to, well, I'm claiming. I'm not claiming anything. I'm sharing my experience. When you wake up, there's no doubt about it. You don't need validation. Criticism matters not. I'm not making any proclamation of superiority or exalted position. In fact, it's quite the contrary when you learn that the ordinariness of this We're all Buddhas in one stage of either deep slumber, rumblings of awakening, approaching awakening. And awakening simply is remembering the forgotten. And I never can stress enough the ordinariness of this. It's as ordinary as breathing in and breathing out. It's as ordinary as a heartbeat. It's as ordinary as can be. So it's not claiming some exalted position that you're a target as soon as you raise yourself to some kind of exalted position. Trust me, you're going to get attacked from all sides. But through the process of continuous surrender, through the process of celebrating the ordinary, through the process of what they call mindfulness, to the point it's gotten almost as useless as enlightened, because it's just been overstated and over misunderstood. But the idea of chop wood, carry water, to put yourself completely in the project that you're doing at the moment. And for me, I'm doing it right now. You have 100% of whatever I have to offer. This is a discipline, this is a practice, this is a part of my journey, is to share, to create these sharings, to document my own personal struggles, warts, wrinkles, and all, and to talk about the process of the necessity to continually learn, to be alert. I love that word, alert. What's alert? I don't know what's alert, but that's the process of being on your toes, living life as it presents itself, and understanding that all you have is your ability to improve, examine yourself, your ability to count to 10 before the words come out, your ability to celebrate equanimity for the beautiful gift that it is that you respond to all situations with equal commitment, with equal peace, tranquility, love, caring, insight. So I shared my personal experience, and I'm always quick to bring up my own shortcomings and my own struggles, because I know there's a commonality. I can feel there's a commonality. And others, whether or not they find my format, I don't know. I just put it out there. But what's driving me to do this, what's compelling me, versus the idea of compel and impel. What's compelling me to share is my understanding of commonalities of experiences, and these that at one time or another we'll all go through these same experiences, and we'll all, of course, have a different lexicon, a different way of wording it, a different way of expressing it. Each of us will have to deal with the shortcoming of words and where their usefulness ends. It's up to us. It's up to you. So I had an opportunity, and I'm working on instead of justification, explanation, complicity, acceptance, all of these things. All that I feel obligated to do is that it comes from someone that I love and someone that I respect, and it warrants my examination of, primarily, if it has relevance, if there's anything I can do about it, and more importantly, my ability to just accept the criticism and not feel that it in any way confines or defines me and my practice and what I'm striving for and my love and compassion and my innate concern of all sentient beings to help everyone in any way that's possible. So I don't want to be sidetracked by my own personal shortcomings. But again, gotta take a look, gotta take a hard look. That's the really beginning. Last time I talked about the beginning of this process and that being able to look deeply at your own shortcomings, to see what needs work, to see what can be changed, to see what just needs acceptance. Because to be human is to have limitations. As long as we're in this body, we're limited. There'll come a time for all of us that these limits are less obvious, but I think the limits persist in this spiraling hierarchy of awakening and awareness, this continuous process. So today I'm celebrating this expression of midwifery in the being assist or takes a part in bringing about a result. My result is death of the ego, which allows birth. And this is my limited experience. I can't do this physically because this all took place within. And when you have a baby, you got something to show for it, right? When your ego dies and your baby Buddha awakens, the only thing you got to show for it is yourself. And I was in such a state of turmoil and loss and helplessness at the beginning that, unfortunately, my observation that one Buddha year is 6 human years, that you can kind of recover from this or start to be, at least an infant is better prepared than, a toddler is better prepared than an infant to defend themselves, to define themselves, to experience themselves, to begin the process. So just as we go through birth, this physical, mental, emotional, as a human being, as a new Buddha, awakened being, we have to go through this same transition. And fortunately, it's speeded up. So after I'm into this process 7 or 8 years, so we're talking about 56, 46 to 50, somewhere in there, 56. My math is, let's see, 8 times 6 is 48. Maybe it was 8 years. I have to go back and look. I think it was 8 years. Because I'm somewhere in my Buddhahood, somewhere in middle age anywhere. And I believe if I go back and look, it's 8 years. But it's not important because this was my construct anyway. This is what I came up with. This is what my meditation led me to. And when it delves in math, which is not my forte to say the least, but I will have very specific numeric references and numeric attachments, which are really beyond my mathematical abilities, at least that I'm aware of on a conscious level. So maybe I'm more of a mathematician inside somewhere than I can resource. Maybe the resources are there and I don't know how to access them. That's good to think of, isn't it? Anyway, I wanted to celebrate this midwifery this opportunity in any way. And as I always want to err on the side of simplicity, my personal teachers were just in the process of beginning or simplification personified. I've reduced this teaching on a verbal level to 3 or 4 points. I'm working on 3 because I like that number. I like 3. Just like in giving directions, I listen to 3. When I ask for directions, anything after 3, go straight 100 yards, turn left, and then turn right at the stop sign. That's it. 4 is already gone. So as I always enthralled by 33, I try to make these messages that I share seem to be 33, give or take a second or two. But this seems to be relevant, this number 3. So I'm working on making it a 3-step process. My oral teachings, which I will give I won't even say them. I'm going to print out the laminated paper, one side English, one side Chinese, with some nice design and some graphic that I'll get help. Because I like to ask people to help me. I think it's giving them an opportunity. But maybe there's a thin line between asking too much, asking too often. Maybe it can be interpreted as laziness, I guess. Do it yourself. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. I never bought into that BS anyway, the Puritan ethic, that work ethic. Just work hard and just keep on the millstone and just keep pounding away, and you're going to make it, and you're going to be self-made, and you're going to be self-righteous, and you're going to be indignant and less tolerant of anyone that doesn't put the same effort as you deem necessary. That's my diatribe. That's my little rant. I'm always thinking that things should come easily. If it's not easy, it's not right for me. So it's fun to be, that's counterculture, I guess, flying in the face of the commonly accepted mores, like expectations, societal expectations, which make me suicidal. And I had to give up caring. Don't try to do something, just do it. I can buy into that. Try. But surrendering to what the universe brings to you in a state of equanimity, in a state of acceptance. And if that includes asking for help, especially if the help was offered up, especially if the help, allowing someone to help you, made that person feel better about themselves. As long as it's that kind of asking, it maybe is not everyone's cup of tea, but it certainly is not without its purposes.